Okay, girls and guys, this is the next day now. The tank is actually dried. I'm just going to show you the finish on it now, and the next thing I'm going to do is obviously apply the decals. But let's just show you. Let's get you off of the tripod for a minute. Right, here's the finished tank. I don't know if you can see the gloss on this at all. It's a lovely finish. Let's try and get nearer so you can see. There's a couple of little dust nibs in it, but I'm not too worried about them at the moment. As I say, I've not actually sanded anything down at the moment. So you've got what they call like the factory orange peel effect, as though it was sprayed by a machine. Because most stuff, when it comes out of a spray shop, a manufacturer's rather, they don't go down and sand it all down afterwards and then buff it up again. You'll just get the basic spray situation, which you've got here. But I don't know if you can see, the actual gloss on that is fantastic. It's a lovely gloss, and you can see the metallics just shining through. And remember the problems we had with this back area here. This is where all the metallics had run and congealed over this area here, and you can basically see that everything's laid down absolutely fantastic there. So there's no problems there at all. I'm really pleased with the way that's turned out. Don't forget, this is my first time of spraying with metallics. Try and get even closer so you can see the glare. I mean, I don't know if you can see the reflection in the background there. Look, I mean, it's pretty sharp with the stuff that's on the shelf there, which shows that it's a pretty good spray job. I'm very well impressed with that. And the side panels and the rear panels are of the same sort of quality, as you can probably see there. Absolutely lovely. You can see so more of the orange peel effect on them, but as I say, you can either leave it as it is to replicate the factory finish, or you can colour sand and buff it. Now I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with this at the moment, whether I'm going to leave it. I may leave it as it is, because in actual fact your camera probably can't tell, but it's an actually lovely spray job, and it will replicate the finish of a factory finish. Now these are the decals I've got here. Again, I bought these on eBay, and that's going to be obviously applied. It's got the backing paper on there at the moment, but the sort of effect it's going to have, I've got this picture off of YouTube, off of Google, of the same bike, and this is the way the decals are going to lie. It's always handy having a picture of the actual graphics you're going to apply, just to let you see the way they line up. So that's what I'm going to be working to. Now, when applying graphics, there is obviously a right way and a wrong way. Now, I never understood really how people would line something up, a sticky substance like you've got on a transfer or a decal. I never understood how they put it in place and basically lined it up and then stuck it on without getting air bubbles underneath it, and also making sure that it is actually in the right place. Well, I've since learned that rather than just peel the back, because you've got a backing and a front paper on here, rather than just peel the backing paper off where it leaves the sticky bit and start to lay it on where you think it belongs, and then if you make a mistake you're basically knackered, because if you try to pull it up once that stickiness is actually attached to the paintwork, you're either going to rip the decal or you're going to remove the sticky off the back and it'll get stuck to the tank and then basically render these sort of stickers useless. So when you're paying around 55 pence for a graphic set, there obviously had to be an easier way to do it. And basically the easy way to do it, now I've found out, is you basically squirt the tank down with a soap and water solution. Now you would naturally think that once you apply that decal onto there, once you've removed the backing paper with the sticky surface on show and putting that on there, you think that that'll take all the stickiness away. Well, it don't actually do that, because what it does, the soapy water actually allows you to move the graphic whilst the soap and water is still underneath between the sticker and the tank itself. And once you've actually lined up where it is, all you do then is that you basically get a squeegee and you start pushing the water out from underneath the graphic, and after a period of time when the rest of it evaporates, that's the graphic in place. So once we've done that, and I've got all the graphics on there, the side panels and the tailpiece, I've then got another decision to make, is whether or not I actually leave the graphics as they are, or whether I come in again with a top coat of lacquer and actually seal the graphics under another coat of lacquer. I've not decided that yet. A lot of manufacturers just leave the graphics on show basically without a coat of lacquer on top. So I may decide to do that. Yeah, it depends how they're going to come out, or I may decide to actually lacquer over the top of the graphics. I'll decide that once I've got everything back on and tried it on the bike and see how it looks. Right, so the procedure what I'm going to do now is basically to wet the tank down where the decal's going to go. I've got soap and water mix in here. Give it a good covering, just like that. Now I'm going to take the backing paper off of the decal, and I'm going to expose the sticky side of the decal. Okay, so I'm basically taking the backing paper off, and this is the sticky side of the decal. Now I've got my image there, the picture of where the image, the graphics got to go, and I'm now just going to wet down with the soap and water the sticky side of the graphic as well. Okay, just make sure it's all covered, which it is. And now I'm going to lay on the decal onto the tank, and it shouldn't stick. It should be skating about, which it obviously is. So once I've done that, I'm then going to squirt water on the outside of the decal. What that does is this outer covering, it just makes that a bit easier to remove. And I'm going to start to get the decal in place. So let me get the camera nearer for you. Again, I'm looking at my image, and basically just going to try and get it lined up. It basically follows this line, this bottom line here, the decal of the actual graphic. And I'm going to take a squeegee and choose an area to start. I'm just going to squeeze the water out here, and hopefully lift away the top side of our graphic. I might start from the other end. Don't be afraid to pull it off and reapply it. We're looking for it to sit correctly. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. Again, you're pushing the water out from under the decal. More water on the surface of the decal. Again, we want this to release, so That's why I'm putting that on there. Again, once you get it started, you'll find it should come off alright. Just prise it off. Don't worry if it does come up. You may think it's not going to be sticking, but once you push all that water out, in fact this outer covering is normally a lot more stickier than what they normally are, so you know, we find once you get it going, you'll be okay. But don't be afraid to pull the decal back off again. Once you're happy with the actual graphic in the position it's in, start wiping the excess water away, because we're now going to start drying it off. Let me stand back and have a look. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And now what I'm going to do is just take a bit of tissue, wrap my scraper with the tissue, just to gently bring the water out. Corners going around bends can be a little bit hard work, but you just persevere with pushing, and the more you push the water out, the more it starts to stick. You just got to work with the transfer, and it will start to dry out behind the back, and then it'll adhere. Just keep going with it, and always pulling away. Never go in towards the transfer, pull away, because you're drawing water out from underneath the transfer. Now we're not looking too bad here now. I've got a couple of sticky bits on the end, which I'm just removing. Again, just drawing across. A little bit of sticky residue on the end of that there. Right, okay, that's looking pretty good. Any little bubbles, don't worry, just keep playing with it. With the scraper you can actually bend it to the contour of the tank, plastic scraper, and then just push in that direction, and you'll find that it will lay down once you start getting that water out. If you do get any bubbles trapped underneath in the middle, all you'll do is you'll come along with a very fine bladed knife and just slit the bubble, and hopefully the water should come out. But if you do it the way I've just shown you there, you'll have no trouble whatsoever. Now again, I mean, that is actually very good. I'm well impressed with that. The graphic is actually sitting down lovely. No bubbles at all on that. Well, our line is constant along there. That was a constant line. Actually sitting flat. Let's see if I can show you a bit nearer. Let's take the camera. Get it off there. So as you can probably, I don't know if you can see or not, let's try and get right near. There is no rippling of this graphic whatsoever. It's actually sitting down absolutely fantastic down the edges. Right round to the front. Absolutely lovely, sitting on there, a treat. So that is the main graphic on. All I've got now, to say that's the, I know it's around the other way, but that's the graphic, and it's a slightly different colour one obviously, but it doesn't matter. So that is the first graphic on. I've got the word Honda now to locate and put on that, so that's what I'm going to do next. Right, okay. So again, I'm going to peel the backing off. I've found the word. I've lined it up with this front peg here on the where the petrol cap actually latches on. If I look at the drawing, I can see the picture of the petrol cap on there, and the end letter on the other, because it's the other side of the tank, lines near enough up with that. So I'm going to start my letter again in probably the same place. So I'm going to peel the backing off again, out with my soapy water, onto the tank again, and all over me graphic. Do make sure you get it all over. If you miss any bits, you'll find it will stick to the tank, but we're okay on this one, so let's put it where we think it's going to go roughly. Get ourselves comfortable. Look at the image one more time just to get an idea. It follows the line of this, so that's what I'm going to be looking at. Right, so I want to get this right. Just stand back, always stand back and have a look and see what you think. It seems a bit high on that side to me, so I'll just drop that down a bit. So a little look. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. And the line's pretty much constant. And we're lined up with the front, so let's start to push the water out. As you push the water out, you know it starts to adhere to the tank. Get it on the outside again because you want that paper to release. Pushing the water out of this part around one letter. Really get that water out of there. Trying to hold the transfer down while I start the backing paper off. You've got to be careful with this little bits like this, you don't want to rip the transfer. I must say it is a very sticky transfer paper on this surface. It's probably been on there for a while, that's the problem here. And you've got to remember you're lifting off different letters at the same time, so if you find a place where they do join, try and come in from that angle. Yeah, so keep coming, come on. Now see, I've stopped there because that H is going to pick up if I'm not careful. So be careful there. I may just have to try and hold that little edge down. Just be careful not to rip the transfer. There we go. Right, so again, now I've got that on, I'm going to wrap up my scraper again. Don't forget, we want to protect the edge of the transfer. Just stand back and have a look. Yes, I'm well pleased with it. And drag across. Again, being careful not to lift anything up. Once it's on and in place, to this stage, you don't want to be lifting that graphic up anymore, so I'm getting rid of the surface water now. What you could also do is to just run a heat gun over that, which I'm actually going to do because I want to make sure the edges, there's a couple of little edges there which have just come, or one little edge that's come up, or could come up if I ain't careful. So we'll just promote that on a light setting. This one down here, for example, just to make sure it sticks down. What you can find is that if you do have a bit of trouble with rippling, you can use the heat gun to actually soften the material to make it go around corners a little better. It just takes a bit of time. And that's sitting on there absolutely lovely. Again, I'm not holding the gun very near. These heat guns, as you know, throw out a lot of heat. I'm just pushing it into place, just easing any leftover residue water that might be there, just getting rid of it. And as I say, if I did have an air bubble in the middle, I would have tried to push it out before now, but failing that, holding the heat gun here, you may be able to bring it down with your finger, or failing that, just put a little nick in it with a very sharp craft knife, and you'll find the water will release, and you can probably heat it up like I'm doing here and remove the bubble, and when the seam goes back together you won't see it. But that, as I said to you, is a nice job. But you saw how easy that was, using water, soapy water on the sticky side of the graphic to be able to manoeuvre it into place. And then once it's in place, you then use the squeegee to start pushing the water out, and as you saw there, we had a few ripples there. Them ripples have now gone once the water's pushed out and the stickiness comes back when the water's not present, and you're left with a decal which is lying as it should be in the correct position, either leaving it as it is, or you can actually lacquer over the whole lot. I'm not quite decided yet what I'm going to do. I might fit it on the bike first and see how it looks before I make that decision. Okay guys and girls, here's stage one. I've not finished it yet, I've still got a little bit to sort out. I've got the back tower piece to sort out. These graphics which I've brought, as I say, are not the exact model for this bike and they don't quite fit. So I may leave that back tower piece, I'm not sure yet. I've got to put a stripe along here, I think, just to make it look a little bit more matching. But overall, that is the look of the bike so far. I think it's absolutely fantastic compared to what it looked like before. And I'm going inside now. It's 5:30 now. I'm going to put my feet up, have some dinner, and I'll come back and finish the bike off tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have it listed on eBay tomorrow.